Father sickened after son is accused of mother's murder.
On June 19, 2015, at approximately 11:11 a.m., a distressing 911 call was received by the Marion County Sheriff's Office.
911, where is your emergency?
Yeah, I need an ambulance, man.
Okay, to what address?
132 Perry Street. My mom was laying here on the floor. Where she's dead. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened.
What's
It looks like he's been waiting 2 hours.
How does he know that? Is he a medical professional? Like, why 2 hours specifically?
The voice you are listening to belongs to Jason Carter. Jason just found his mother's lifeless body on the kitchen floor of his parents' farm home. Jason's 71-year-old father, Bill, was the next person to arrive at the scene. Without hesitation, Bill made his way straight into the kitchen. In the kitchen, he found his 68-year-old wife, Shirley Carter, lying on her back. Her arms crossed over her chest and her eyes wide open. Shirley had been shot twice to the chest by what was presumed to be a hunting rifle. Just hours earlier, everything was completely fine. In fact, Bill and Shirley were actually enjoying a regular morning together. So, let's start there. Shirley and Bill began their morning with their regular visit to a local coffee shop for a freshly brewed cup of joe. After their coffee, Bill dropped Shirley off at home before he headed to the farm to start work. At approximately 11 a.m., Bill received a distressing phone call from his daughter, Jana. She told him that her brother Jason, who is also Bill's son, had just called her and said that he discovered their mother dead in the family kitchen. Jason said that the home looked like the scene of a burglary. Bullet holes in the kitchen floor and fridge, while the bedroom and home office had been ransacked, with documents and furniture scattered about. Lead detective Mark Ludwig from the Marion County Sheriff's Office.
Now, things was ransacked, but was anything taken? We know they're gonna look at that.
Arrived at the home just moments after Bill. As Ludwig made his way to the house, he listened to the 911 call. However, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about it.
He was immediately on my radar even before I arrived on the scene.
Damn.
How he described the scene and his emotions, and right away that set bells off to me.
He had his suspicions of Jason's involvement from the very beginning. Why hadn't the first call been to 911? And why hadn't Jason called Bill directly? According to Ludwig, Jason provided an overly detailed description of the crime scene, and his behavior during the call appeared to be overly dramatic. While analyzing material for the investigation, this particular excerpt from the 911 call raised significant suspicion.
I don't know what happened. It looks like he's been waiting 2 hours.
That's what I said, bro.
2 hours.
How did Jason determine that the body had been lying there for 2 hours?
Come on. Stop playing with me. Not pre-watched, bro. Come on.
3 days after Shirley's death, Jason and his wife Shelley were taken to the sheriff's office for questioning regarding the murder. During the investigation, it was also revealed that Jason had been hiding an extramarital affair from his wife. The police found a hidden mobile phone tucked away under the hood of his truck. Jason used this phone to communicate with the woman that he was having the affair with. This discovery caused investigators to question Jason.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. There's a pretty high chance you was never gonna find that phone. I can't lie, bro.
Jason's credibility, and led Ludwig to concentrate all of his attention on Jason as the primary suspect. At the sheriff's office, Shelley was taken into a small interview room where she was told about her husband's affair. Meanwhile, just down the hall in a different room, Jason was being interrogated.
So you'd have my deepest sympathy, you really do. Thanks. Okay.
Detectives asked if he would like to take part in a lie detector test, to which Jason agreed.
You go, yeah.
Okay, lean back, try and relax. So, we'll begin the test. I'll have your feet flat on the floor. I'll look straight ahead and answer no to each question. Okay?
Just as the test began, Ludwig returned to the interview room where Shelley had remained. He hoped that the news of Jason's affair would sway her emotions against Jason and encourage her to cooperate with the police. However, Shelley did not crack and remained confident that her husband was innocent. In the interrogation room, detectives continued to question Jason about his connection to his mother's death.
Okay. Regarding the death of your mom, do you intend to answer each question truthfully?
Yes.
Okay. Did you physically hurt your mom?
Let me move myself over here.
Okay. Now this is important. When I say physically hurt your mom, okay, I want you to know exactly what I mean is, did you cause her death?
No.
Okay. Do you know for a fact who hurt your mom?
No.
Okay. Once again, I don't want to know if you have an opinion or I think this guy. Take the question at what it means. Do you know for a fact who hurt your mom?
No.
Okay. That's still.
After the tests were completed, Ludwig received the results and briefly stepped out of the room for approximately 5 minutes before the officers returned. After explaining to Jason how the evaluation process worked, they then
Bro.
revealed that the result of his test
Bro, hold on. My mouse is still
was
on the
deemed
screen.
as deceptive.
We
Minutes before the officers returned. After explaining to Jason how the evaluation process worked, they then revealed that the result of his test was deemed as deceptive.
we score them in 3 different ways. Okay, you can show non-deception, which means that we don't see any variation, inconclusive, which means we're not sure, or deception, which means we haven't heard the whole story yet.
He's probably going to panic after he hears that. But lie detector tests aren't the most reliable thing.
And you were deceptive.
It's important to note that lie detection technology, including the use of polygraphs, are not reliably accurate in assessing the truthfulness
It's not pre-washed,
of information.
bro.
One should always
It's-
approach the
I mean,
conclusions
like, obviously that's common knowledge. Like, come on.
drawn from a polygraph test with a degree of skepticism. Despite Jason's own skepticism of the test results, the questioning intensified.
Jason, what are the 2 things that you are deceptive on?
My gosh. That nigga dropped a bomb on him. Yeah.
Do you positively know who did this?
No!
Well,
Hey, man. Hey, man. You got it, bro. You got it. I believe him. I believe him. Look, let's hear it again, bro.
do you positively know who did this?
No!
Well, according to the test, you do.
What was that?
Hey, man. This detective is, or whoever this is, bro, psychologist or whoever. This is hilarious. This is hilarious.
No!
Well, according to the test, you do.
What was that damn thing is wrong?
It's not.
It is too.
It's not.
Never touched my mom. I never hurt her. The killer is still out there that shot her.
What happened at your mom's house?
She was shot dead.
I understand that, Jason. We need to get to the truth here.
That is the truth.
You know, I think
Look, I walked in the
That was the highest his voice has been this entire video. That boy reached octaves. He was climbing them hoes.
we need to get to the truth here.
That is the truth.
You know, I think
Yo, he could voice act as a whole female. I'm sorry, bro. One more time, bro. I'm sorry.
we need to get to the truth here.
That is the truth.
You know, I think
Look, I walked in the door and my mom was laying in a pool of blood.
okay.
I
we
walked
need to
in and
sort
found
through
my
that.
mom dead, and that's it,
Jason,
period.
That's not true.
That is the truth.
It's not true, Jason.
That is to the truth.
It's not true, Jason. We need to get past that, and we need to get to what the truth is.
I'm telling you the truth, the
You're not telling me
god
the
awful truth.
Jason.
I'm telling you the
You're
truth.
not telling me the truth, Jason.
Yes, I am.
Ludwig was still not convinced of Jason's story, especially given his detailed description of a gruesome crime scene with a copious amount of blood, which did not match the minimal blood that was actually found at the scene.
You're
Mm.
the one who did the polygraph examination. Nobody else fits those things.
Damn.
After exhausting all of his efforts to
Bro, he
convince
is-
the detectives otherwise, Jason resorted to condemning them to hell and threatening that his mother would strike them dead for their false accusations.
Jason, I'm
This detective is cooking. Who is this, bro?
confident. I agree, poor mom. She doesn't deserve this.
If she could talk right now, she'd strike both your asses dead because she knows I didn't do that. Okay?
She does know.
She would strike both your asses dead because I didn't do this.
Sick, man.
He said
And if
she
you keep
knows.
blaming me, I guarantee both of you go to hell because I didn't do a damn thing to my mom.
Well, Jason, I'm gonna keep telling you you did it because you did it.
No, I didn't.
And together we can get past this. You condemning me to hell isn't gonna change the facts of what occurred.
Another reason detectives had their suspicions was the manner in which parts of the house had appeared to have been ransacked. Shirley's dresser had been tampered with, its drawers pulled open, yet none of the contents were missing. Additionally,
What I say? Come on, come on. I'm like 5 for 5 right now.
a purse containing $140 in cash, credit cards, and other valuables was found untouched, left out on their granddaughter's high chair. Ludwig was also curious about how Jason managed to quickly identify a bullet hole in the kitchen floor and another on the refrigerator.
You know what? I've done this a very long time. And you're right. People do react with disbelief and stuff when they find a body like that. You know what they don't do? They don't survey a crime scene and start telling me where bullet holes are at, Jason.
Good gosh. I don't. Let me stop glazing, but
That's what they don't do.
Jason earlier mentioned that he had noticed one of
You got a
Bill's
little
hunting
sassy.
rifles missing from the gun safe in the basement, raising suspicions that the missing rifle may have been the weapon used to shoot his mother. However, the weapon used to kill Shirley Carter was never found.
What do you think was used to shoot your mom?
I think that 270 rifle was used to shoot my mom. Where'd it go?
You tell me.
I don't know.
I think you know that's the murder weapon because you know what happened.
No, I don't.
As the questioning continued well into the late hours of the night, despite the detective's allegations and claims pointing towards Jason's involvement, he firmly denied all accusations.
This doesn't
We're
matter.
not talking
My
about
mom
this,
is gone, and you
and
haven't.
you can't tell the truth. You're
Bullshit.
right.
Bullshit.
Brody is
You're right.
getting
Your mom is
pressed.
gone.
She is gone because someone shot her.
Yes, you did, Jason. And
No,
you have to
I
step
didn't.
up and take responsibility for your actions.
What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you people? I would never harm a hair on my mom's head.
It finally came to an end when Jason's wife
Sick,
urgently
man.
demanded to speak with him on the phone. She firmly believed in his innocence and was prepared to support her husband in this fight for justice.
She said she wants me to quit talking to you and we get out now.
That's fine. Like I told you from the very beginning or whatever, you're more than welcome at any time. I mean,
I'll go. But I don't have anything to hide, Mama. I told him there's no way I'd hurt my mom.
Eventually, Jason was permitted to leave without facing any criminal charges, despite the negative polygraph test results. Jason's father, Bill, went on to hire a lawyer to represent him whether any criminal or civil legal matters began. Mark Weinhardt, Bill's attorney, detailed that Bill found himself in a dark place. It was difficult for him to cope with the heartbreaking loss of his wife, while also grappling with the difficult reality that his son was the main suspect in the case. In Bill's pursuit of justice, he made the decision to hire a private investigator to thoroughly investigate and re-examine the evidence related to the murder of Shirley. The PI quickly discovered a strange piece of information. He found that Jason initially reported a rifle missing from his father's gun safe. However, during his interrogation, he denied having any knowledge of his father owning such a safe.
I didn't even know he had a damn gun safe till just recently.
This seemed quite strange to his father, Bill, who was given the gun safe for Christmas by his 3 children, and
Well, but he didn't do it. He didn't do it though.
even had a picture of Jason assembling the safe.
Hey man. Technically, he still could be innocent.
As the PI dug deeper into Jason's finances, the investigation also revealed that Jason was in debt to creditors. Given the substantial value of the family farm, and with Jason being the beneficiary, suspicions arose that money was the motive. It was suggested that his mother might have been privy to his secret relationship, potentially jeopardizing his inheritance.
I believe he needed to stop his mom from telling his dad that he's having an affair.
Having exhausted all efforts in his private investigation, and with the sheriff's office hesitant to press criminal charges, Bill decided to take legal action together with his 2 remaining children against Jason for the wrongful death of Shirley.
68-year-old Shirley Carter was found dead in her rural Marion County home in June, and now 7 months later, Shirley's husband Bill says he has no doubt his son committed the crime.
I'll never get over her, losing her. She's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Oh, man.
He needs to pay for what he did. He needs to pay.
Leading up to the civil trial,
I'm glad he can recognize, bro. Because sometimes, you know, there's parents that their kids do some very evil things and they just can't even, like, compute it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't even in line with anything in their brains.
Jason was deposed, which required him to provide a play-by-play of the events of that fateful morning.
She was just laying there, looking off like, and I knelt down. And I grabbed her pant leg and shook it and said, "Mom," you know, hoping she'd respond.
Y'all see a tear? Any tears?
Did you scream?
No.
Were you crying?
You know, I think I don't, it was just shock.
Following Jason's testimony, the prosecutor described his demeanor as insincere and noticeably evasive. In a civil trial, the burden of proof is lower than in a criminal trial. However, the case was far from simple, as the prosecutors had a challenging task of persuading the jury that a son had committed murder in their own family residence. The jury reached a verdict in just 2 hours. And on December 15th, 2017, a Marion court jury found Jason Carter guilty for the death of his mother, Shirley Carter, and was ordered to pay $10 million to her estate.
Jeez.
Bill Carter is speaking for the first time since he won a $10 million wrongful death lawsuit.
Now tell me it's a life sentence, bro. Tell me. How is there still like 18 minutes left?
Against his son Jason, and since special agents arrested Jason for first-degree murder Sunday in Knoxville.
I love him. I still love him. He's my son. Do you know how hard that was for me to watch him be handcuffed and shackled? I was there.
Bill's attorney described...
Damn, man. And he still got love for him, though. Well, he knows he got to suffer the consequences, bro. You got to.
The verdict as a welcome first step down the road for justice for Shirley. The prosecutor then expressed his confidence in the evidence that they gathered, and Jason Carter was officially charged with the first-degree murder of Shirley Carter. Mark Ludwig made sure that he was the one to handcuff Jason. The criminal trial was set for March 8th, 2019 at the Pottawatomie County Courthouse due to national media coverage. If Jason is convicted in the...
Life, bro. No parole. Gotta be life, no parole, bro.
Criminal trial, he faces a severe penalty, a $10 million judgment, and a life sentence without the possibility of parole.
The jury is now seated, and Jason Carter's murder trial is underway.
W, jury.
He's the Marion County man accused of killing his own mother.
Leading up to the trial, Jason was presented with the option of a plea deal, 5 years or so in prison, instead of a possible life sentence with no parole. A tempting proposition, but Jason turned down that option. In his opening statement, State Prosecutor Ed Bull insinuated that the money was the motive for the crime. He painted Jason Carter as a struggling farmer who was pressured to succeed, who then plotted to murder his parents for financial gain, as the farm was estimated to be worth around $6 million.
On June 19th, Bill and Shirley got up with the sun, because for farmers, sunlight is money. They started their day with a light breakfast. Bill had a cup of coffee. Now, Bill and Shirley Carter, they spent a lifetime acquiring good cropland. Their business was called Carter Farms. Now, we'll learn that about this time, with Bill and Shirley being in their late 60s, they were starting to slow down. They were starting to slowly step aside from that entire career that they had built. But they weren't prepared to step aside entirely. That is, they weren't ready to retire and let Jason Carter have Carter Farms. So you might be wondering, if Jason Carter couldn't run Carter Farms instead of his parents, why didn't he just run Carter Farms with his parents? And other people had that same question. we'll have the opportunity to listen to two different people who asked that very question. Why don't you run the business with your parents? One of the conversations took place years ago. The other, just the fall harvest before Shirley's death. Both times, Jason Carter, the man sitting in that chair right there, said he could never go into business with that bitch. The law requires me to prove each and every element
Insane,
of murder in
bro.
the first degree. But you're going to find at the conclusion of this case, the Judge McCall isn't going to tell you, I had to prove why he did it. And it makes perfect sense why I don't have to do that, because there is no good reason. What I can tell you is that what we will prove to you is that there are clues that lead to only one conclusion. And based on the evidence, at the conclusion of the evidence, we will ask that you return a verdict finding Jason Carter.
My nigga about to cry, bro. He's like, damn, this nigga he is piecing right now. He Mike Tyson in my shit. Look at the look on his face, bro. He knows he's cooked. Deep fried.
Carter guilty of murder in the first degree. As the facts will support it, the law will compel it, and justice for Shirley will demand it. Thank you.
It was now Jason's defense team's turn to present their opening statement. Christine Branstad, the lead defense attorney, delivered a visibly nervous yet compelling statement portraying Jason as a devoted son who cherished his mother and shared a close bond with her. Her main focus was to outline how the investigation was poorly handled, while also addressing the dynamics of the relationship between Jason and his mother, as it would be subject to thorough scrutiny.
Mr. Bowles said no case is perfect, sort of lumping this in with other investigations. What I'm going to ask of you is over the course of this trial to look and see if you think this was a normal, imperfect investigation, or if very significant parts of this investigation simply weren't completed. And then there was the implication that there was friction. Bill Carter and Jana Carter and Billy Carter.
Okay, which is she gonna name which parts?
Will all testify that Jason was over at the house, that he spent time with his mother, that his mother was proud of him, happy with him, that they were together often, and that none of them had seen friction, sadness. I believe the evidence will show the timeline doesn't make sense. There was no motive. The statements were taken completely out of context. And very significant pieces of evidence weren't followed through. So when the state says to you, all clues point to one conclusion, it's all the clues that the tunnel vision of law enforcement, and one investigator in particular, went after. They were absolutely focused on Jason Carter and ignored all the other clues.
That's low-key facts. It's low-key facts. That's why he said it was compelling. I got you.
And at the end of this case, I will ask you, can you really base a case on an incomplete investigation and clues that weren't followed?
Stop hitting my head.
And I will ask you at that time to enter a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
Following the opening statements, prosecutors then summoned a witness to approach the stand. This is Brendan Smith, a local farm equipment salesman who has had a long-standing relationship with the Carter family.
I asked why he didn't farm together with his dad, and his response was, I can't because my mom is a bitch.
Did it surprise you when he said that?
A little, yes.
Why?
I have known Shirley about as long as Bill. I have known Shirley about as long as Bill, and it was just, she didn't strike me as that person. I guess I just didn't realize that was how he felt, I guess. Kind of took me back a little.
Following Brandon's testimony, Bill was also summoned to testify. A father's belief in his son's guilt could significantly influence the jury's perception, leading them to conclude that Jason was indeed guilty. Knowing about Jason's farming debt, Bill had suggested that they farm together to raise capital to settle his debt. However, Shirley opposed the idea of the two working together.
Damn. It's not looking good, bro. Not for him. It's looking good for Justice.
Did you start to have concerns that Jason was going to struggle to pay off his farming debts?
Yes, I did.
Damn.
How much was he going to come up short?
I assume somewhere between 100 and 150,000.
Still visibly sad, he was asked to recall the moment that he arrived at the house.
What did you see?
I found Shirley on the floor. And she was just looked like she was sleeping. Her eyes were closed. Her hands were crossed. And her legs were crossed.
What did you do?
Jason came in. And I said, Jason, look how she's laying. You don't die that way. And then he said, Dad, go downstairs. See if a gun went off.
And did you?
I had to picture her. The first thing I did was check her carotid artery. And she was dead. And then I picked her head up and I kissed her on the forehead. And she was cold.
Oh, man.
Then he came in and said, Dad, go downstairs. And I started down the stairway and I said, I never had any guns loaded. I never had any guns loaded. And I went back up and I picked her head up and I held her.
Following his heartbreaking testimony, a key piece of evidence was then presented to the jury. A surveillance
That was tough, man. Rest in peace.
Video showing Jason at the Eddyville Cargill Grain Center pulling away in his semi-truck just before 10 a.m., about a 1-hour drive away from his parents' house. This piece of evidence alone was enough to cast doubt on the theory that Jason killed his mother. However, determining Shirley's accurate time of death was now more critical than ever. Forensic pathologist Cyril Wecht was summoned to the stand to provide details of how long Shirley had been dead before her body was found.
Now, you were asked to attempt to determine approximate time of death for Shirley Carter, is that correct?
Yes.
Were you able to do that to a reasonable degree of medical certainty?
Yes.
Okay.
What is your opinion?
In my opinion,
2 hours.
Mrs. Carter had died about 2 hours.
How did Jason know? How did Jason know? Let's see, bro.
Possibly somewhat more, possibly a little bit less, but no less than 1 hour. More, most likely, in my opinion, I would express, would be around 2 hours, recognizing some variation up or down, so to speak, from a temporal standpoint.
And that was 2 hours prior to
the time that Mrs. Carter.
This guy's more competent than Joe Biden.
Was found to be dead by her son, Mr. Jason Carter, and then with Mr. William Carter, her husband, and then Ms. Goff, the EMT person.
The autopsy report stated that the time of death was sometime after 10:30 a.m. Yet we can now see that Jason was over an hour away at 9:55 a.m., making his involvement impossible, unless the autopsy report was incorrect or the camera was malfunctioning. It was now Detective Ludwig's turn to testify about the details of his investigation. Although Ludwig seemed adamant of Jason's involvement, the defense was on the attack during his cross-examination. Their first focus was to introduce a new theory that the police overlooked. Around the time of Shirley's death, local residents alerted the authorities about 3 individuals with notable criminal records: John Followill, Joel Followill, and Joe Sedlock. It was suspected that these men could have played a role in Shirley's tragic death as a result of a botched robbery attempt. He started to appear visibly uncomfortable and uneasy, yet Branstad continued to probe deeper.
At least a dozen of those people say that it was a burglary gone wrong, correct?
I'm not sure how many people, but yeah, burglary gone wrong was something that we knew by noon on the day of the homicide was gone around the small community. I'm definitely confused at this point. But I've done a lot of stupid stuff in my career and during interviews, and so I'd hope I wouldn't have done that.
Ludwig's deteriorating confidence and insecure testimony only supported the defense's claim that the police failed to conduct a thorough investigation. And this point was further driven home when it was clarified that none of the 3 men, whom the locals suspected of the robbery, were ever investigated or charged. On the last day of the trial, Jason was expected to testify, but the defense had a different plan.
And Your Honor, the defense rests.
Very well.
Jason would not be called upon by the defense team to testify on his own behalf. The defense felt that allowing Jason to testify posed a significant risk, as prosecutors could manipulate the line of questioning to potentially compromise his position. Without Jason's testimony, the jury was left unaware he had failed the lie detector test, and about his extramarital affair. As the trial came to an end and the attorneys gave their closing arguments, the prosecutors believed that the jury had a much limited understanding of the case. Ed Bull contended that the defense's claim of other potential suspects was merely an attempt to divert the attention and create a distraction. Branstad then reminded the jurors that there was no DNA or ballistics evidence that could link Jason to the killing. She argued that the state's investigators failed to follow up on significant leads, which resulted in an incomplete murder investigation.
Damn, this is a good proposition. She cooking with that.
As the trial wrapped up and the jury went to deliberation, Jason texted his son, Jason Jr., and his daughter, McKenna, to assure them of his love and that he would be home soon. His attorneys also prepared Jason for the possibility of an unfavorable verdict, advising him to remain composed and to not overreact if he is found guilty. On March 21st, 2019, Jason Carter was read his verdict.
You're cooked.
Form of verdict number 1. We, the jury, find Jason Carter not guilty.
Oh.
Is that your verdict, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, it is. Mr. Bull, do you care to...
Man, that defense argument was good, bro. The security footage the times don't match up. But then again, you got him saying she was out of there for 2 hours. How do you know she's been out of there for 2 hours? Damn. I don't know.
Have the jury polled?
No, sir.
Let's see if there's any more twists, bro.
Very well. In light of the jury's verdict, I will enter a judgment of acquittal. Any bond previously posted by the defendant will be released and exonerated. Anything further on behalf of the defendant at this point, Ms. Branstad?
No, Your Honor.
On behalf of the state?
No, sir.
Very well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. You are released. I would ask that you hang out in the jury room for a couple minutes. I'll be in just a couple of minutes, okay?
Jason Carter was acquitted of all charges. As you can see, he was overwhelmed with emotion.
I sat down with Jason Carter, his wife, and a part of his legal team just a few hours ago. He says he's relieved the jury deemed him not guilty, but says by no means is his life back to normal. He says the last 4 years have torn his family apart, and his relationship with his dad is pretty much non-existent at this point. Remember, his father, Bill Carter, filed a wrongful death civil lawsuit against him, and a jury in that case did find Jason Carter liable for his mother's death. Jason Carter says he's ready to put this all behind him, but does not know what that means for him and his dad.
We would like to move forward with my family, and I'll watch watch out for them, and you know, I don't know what to say about my dad. I just don't.
This is the first time Bill has spoken publicly since the not guilty verdict.
He killed my wife. I don't care what a jury said. He killed my wife. He blew her heart apart until there wasn't anything to weigh.
Bill's first interview falls on what would have been Shirley's 72nd birthday, and he's at a loss for words when asked what he misses the most about his wife of more than 50 years.
She should be dead.
I don't think anybody can
Heartbreaking,
imagine,
man.
you know, what we went through.
After Jason's acquittal, Jason filed state and federal lawsuits against the state of Iowa, along with Mark Ludwig and his father Bill. He alleged that Ludwig and other investigators had made false statements during the investigation, neglected to pursue leads that pointed to other suspects, and withheld evidence that could have proven his innocence. Bill and Jason have remained estranged since the conclusion of the trial. Following the judge's verdict in the civil lawsuit, Jason has actively filed an appeal on the decision, as the tensions within the family are far from over. This family tragedy is now a cold case.
Wow, man. The defense did a good job. I mean, she did her job, man. She made some great points, but there's just so much evidence that just point towards him. But at the same time, there's nothing like, there's no final, you know, there's no like DNA and stuff like that. That's a tough one. I don't know what to choose, man.